I'm going to lay out what I think is going to happen. And I think we're going to complete an intermediate cycle low next week. Hopefully, the PPT doesn't step in and stop this, and we, get an actual correction, not this bullshit type of corrections here that last 3 days and then they get the market turned back around. Hopefully, this correction is going to run long enough to clear the bullish sentiment, and then we'll be set up for the next leg up. Um, so this was kind of a bit fuzzy lately. I wasn't sure. Well, this looked like a daily cycle low. The problem was it didn't drop far enough to break the cycle trend line. So it's kind of hard to say that this is a confirmed daily cycle low when it didn't break this trend line. So I'm gonna say that probably what we're looking at here is, instead of a cycle that's on day 8, that we're looking at a stretch cycle that's on day 54. As you remember, we had the inauguration, we had the Humphrey Hawkins address, and then we had the FOMC, or the State of the Union, and then we had the FOMC meeting where they were going to raise rates a quarter of a point. So the market had to be kept propped up during, ahead of all 4 of these events. And so I think what it's done is it's ended up we're stretching this daily cycle. So I'm going to make a prediction and say that this intermediate cycle is only going to have 2 daily cycles embedded within it, and that this second daily cycle is going to stretch, and we're probably going to put in the bottom sometime next week. And here's why I think that's going to be so. Quite often, not 100%, but more often than not, an intermediate cycle low in the stock market will also correspond with an intermediate cycle low in either the dollar or the euro. One or the other of those currencies will usually be under stress at the same time that the stock market completes its intermediate cycle low. So the question was whether or not this was an intermediate cycle low in the dollar. It did manage to just barely break below this daily cycle low, so it did fulfill the requirement of having a left translated cycle. And this looked like it was going to be a right translated cycle, but with yesterday's move, it's starting to look like this cycle is going to break this low, and then that would, if and when it does that, then this would become a failed cycle. And even though this did rally 21 days, it would presumably be left translated. So at this point, I'm going to say that this probably was not an intermediate cycle low, and that the intermediate cycle low is going to occur when this daily cycle bottoms. It's getting pretty long in the tooth, so what I think is going to happen is later this week or next week, we're gonna break this support zone, the February low, and then when we do, that's going to unleash the bloodbath phase. It would also complete this it's kind of messy, but we've got kind of a head and shoulders pattern here. So I'm going to say when we break this neckline, it's going to unleash the bloodbath phase of this intermediate decline, and we'll get those bloodbath phases usually last 5 to 7 days. So I would say sometime next week we're going to get a 5 to 7 day, a big whoosh down, maybe even down somewhere around 96, 95. I think this Head and Shoulders pattern would target something in the 94 to 95 range. So, a 5 to 7 day bloodbath phase that takes the dollar somewhere down, to this zone, and then the dollar and the stock market complete their yearly cycle lows together sometime next week. So that's going to be my guess. I see a lot of people that are expecting a long, drawn-out move in the stock market to April or May, and that was kind of my expectation at first too. But after seeing what the dollar's doing and uh, the length of this daily cycle, it's like I said, it's already getting pretty mature. I think we're on day 32 today. So I really don't think the dollar cycle is going to run all the way out to April or May. I think we're going to have that big drop down, that big 5 to 7 day bloodbath phase between now and maybe the end of next week. And I think that will complete the yearly cycle low in the dollar and probably also complete the yearly cycle low in the stock market. So I'm going to change my expectations and say that the stocks are going to complete uh, their longer intermediate cycle low next week and not into April or May.